On today's show, the Houston Rockets get a huge win on the second night of a back-to-back against the Milwaukee Bucks, closing out their 7-game homestand. How are they able to slow down the Bucks offense? Jabari Smith Jr. and Jeff Green, huge on the defensive side of the basketball. The Rockets bench putting in a ton of work in this game, spearheaded by Uncle Jeff, but also Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore continuing to grow before our very eyes. We're going to break it all down for you coming up right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start.
Throw it up to Jalen Green.
Sengun here in the short row. Oh, my, that's the no-look.
Jabari for three and the win. Yeah!
Look at Tari, Eason. Cooking.
Here comes Tari.
No!
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal.
The Houston Rockets select Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore.
One thing I have never done is not made the playoffs, and so we want to take that step here as well.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Mondays. Be sure to follow along on Twitter at JT Gatlin, and the show, of course, at Locked On Rockets, free and available wherever you listen to your podcasts, including YouTube. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. And as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you for being an everydayer and making the show part of your day every single day. Joining us now is none other than your weekly co-host, NBA draft enthusiast, and diehard Rockets fan, Madison Moore. You can track down on Twitter at MadmanLeaks. And look, this Houston Rockets team, they had a pair of games over the weekend. They got blown out by the Timberwolves. We're not going to talk about that game, though, because we want to spend our collective efforts here talking about the Rockets' 112-108 win on the second night of a back-to-back against the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, that's not to say that we won't have to revisit the discussion about the Timberwolves, but they played the Timberwolves a couple more times this season. We'll talk about that down the line. Let's talk about this Bucks game, Madison, because this game was, I think, really impressive on the second night of a back-to-back. As dominant as the Bucks have been, as good of a team as they've been offensively this year, especially because we just saw this Bucks team, a couple weeks ago, and the Rockets had no answer for them defensively. They did a really great job, I think, against this Bucks team. Give me before we get into the nitty gritty here, give me your reaction to this win. 5 words or less. Go.
Ooh, on the spot.
On the spot.
5 words or less. I'll just give you one word.
Okay, one word.
Defense.
Okay. All right.
That's my reaction to this game. Defense, and in particular on Damian Lillard. Keeping Damian Lillard, with a poor shooting night, especially through the first half, I think was very key for our Rockets to get this big win tonight. I mean, I thought defensively they swarmed against Giannis, even though he still had a monstrosity of a game. I thought they helped incredibly well, and I thought they ran shooters off the three-point line, and tonight was one of those nights, unlike the Timberwolves night, where guys just weren't flaming hot from three. And we know the last game that we lost to Milwaukee, Dame was being typical Dame against the Rockets, and he was not that guy tonight. And I just want to give our guys the credit for sticking with it, staying tough, and really helping each other throughout this game. I thought the key for this game was how much the Rockets helped one another in the paint and ran hard to run guys off the three-point line. I thought it was incredible, honestly. And I just want to give the flowers out to our guys who are not seen as great defenders and who make a lot of mistakes, like Jalen Green, Cam Whitmore, Amon Thompson. I thought they rotated really well. A lot of their weaknesses that we usually see come up where they miss their assignments and stuff, I thought they were really good today, and it just shows that the young guys are getting better and they're becoming more consistent defensively. And tonight, it was enough to get us a win against the Milwaukee Bucks, one of the 3 best records in the league. I think they are. I'm sorry.
Yeah, top 3 in the
top
East
3 or
for sure.
4.
I think
one
of the 3 best records in the NBA though as well. Maybe not after this game. Look, Damian Lillard just 18 points, 5 of 16 shooting, only 1 of 8 from downtown. He was 7 of 10 at the free throw line, which is also uncharacteristic. So it may have just been an off shooting night for Dame, and you maybe chalk it up to that. But I do agree fully. The defense was really impressive in this game, especially there in the first half, holding the Bucks to a season low 43 first half points. This is a Bucks team that is a really high octane, potent offense. They've kind of changed their identity a little bit, with Adrian Griffin now taking over as the head coach, bringing in Damian Lillard. They're not quite the defensive juggernaut that they used to be, but offensively things have been clicking, and the Dame Giannis duo has been gelling as of late. So being able to slow them down has been, or what was, I agree, really impressive. And I liked what just kind of the Rockets' defensive game plan, right? Ryan Hollins talked about it a lot during the game, but just the scrambling defense, right? Basically showing multiple bodies at guys like Giannis and Dame and loading up on those guys, right? Basically having a defender like right there at the nail, getting ready to help on any of those drives, sending a double team occasionally at those guys when they were, if Giannis was on the post or looking to get a drive going, kind of walling up and forcing the other guys to beat you. That that Giannis can beat you. And hell, he almost hung 50 on him, right? 48 points on 16 of 25 shooting. But there were a few moments in this game, Madison, where I thought that, Giannis, maybe there was a defensive breakdown, whatever, he got a free run at the rim. He's Giannis. He's going to have moments like that. But I thought, by and large, the Rockets collectively did a really good job defensively, again, on Dame, like you said, but also on Giannis, just making him work hard for the buckets that he got, specifically the 2 guys, Jeff Green and Jabari Smith Jr., I thought were absolute defensive standouts in this game. Jeff Green with his straight up one-on-one defense on Giannis at times. Again, I know it's hard to sit here and say, oh, he had a good, defensive performance when the guy dropped almost 50, but it really did feel like Giannis was having to work for those shots. He only had 2 assists is the other thing, right? So Giannis was basically having to carry the scoring load. At no point were they letting the other guys beat you. And that's where I think you get into, the danger zone with teams like the Bucks, where Giannis and Dame can turn it on at any point, but if you let them get the other guys involved, then you're screwed. Yeah, no, I think the most important part is the Rockets never got discouraged when Giannis was going on his tirades. They stick to the game plan, and they were really tough about defending him. I thought I loved how Jabari Smith, he really fought through every possession, and when he got certain wins, certain stops, you could just feel it feed, like, okay, I'm gonna just stick with it. I'm not gonna be able to stop this guy, all the time, but I'm gonna stick to the game plan. I'm gonna play solid, good defense. And I thought his rebounding I felt the impact of Jabari Smith's rebounding, his toughness, limiting a lot of Giannis to one shot at the rim. And we're a smaller team, so his rebounding is really important for us. And Jabari Smith has kind of emerged as a guy who's really taking pride in the rebounding over the course of this year. And I thought he was really tough, staying in front of Giannis, and a lot of time getting rebounds in traffic that really, kept limited the Bucks' second chance shots. And a big reason, actually, I want to say the reason the Rockets won this game was actually the contributions from the bench. The bench lineup in this game, Jeff Green, Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, and Aaron Holiday, all instrumental in this one. We want to talk about the bench lineup coming up here in just a moment, as well as we've got to anoint your Locked On Rockets a player of the game. The honors going to, I'll let Madison dub the LOR player of the game here in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Look, you shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event, right? You're trying to go out and have a good time. Nobody wants to stress about the ticket buying process. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events happening near you. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase because they've got all-in prices. First of all, I don't know about you. My least favorite thing when I'm buying tickets is I'm going through the whole process and I get to the very end and they're like, hey, you owe like an extra, $100-something for the handling fee or the processing fee or what. It's ridiculous, right? Game Time shows you the all-in price up front so you know exactly what you're going to pay. They're obsessed with helping you find ways to save money on your tickets. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. They've got exclusive flash deals, zone deals, all sorts of stuff you want to take advantage of. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off. Again, download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, Madison, we've got to get to our Locked On Rockets player of the game. So I'm going to let you go ahead and do the honors and select your player of the game for this one.
Yeah, in honor of this segment about the bench mob, I think the best player off the bench and the best player of the game, giving more than what's asked of him, was Jeff Green tonight. I thought Jeff Green was stellar, not only on the defensive end, but also on the offensive end, netting 16 points, 5 of 11 tonight. I thought he hit some very timely threes in the second half that withstood a lot of the Bucks runs trying to get back in this game. And I thought he was solid all night, playing extended minutes. Uncle Jeff playing extended minutes, and I really liked the three big lineup, like three big guys with switching versatility out there. I thought that was a nice touch by MA, especially with all the attention needed with Giannis in the paint. So I thought Jeff came in, he was able to switch, he was able to help, and he gave an extra big body against Giannis, and I thought he had an excellent game tonight.
34 minutes played, which without even looking is absolutely a season high in minutes for Jeff Green. Ime Udoka leaning on him heavily. He also leaned on Jabari a ton in this game. Jabari Smith Jr., a team high 40 minutes played in this game. Honorable mention to Jabari Smith Jr. as well. I know we just kind of waxed poetic about both of those guys in the first segment, their defense, the intensity with which they played in this game. So again, Jeff Green off the bench, the 15 points, 5 of 11 shooting, had a couple boards, had a couple assists, had a block in there. Jabari Smith Jr., 14 points, 3 of 7 shooting, that timely 3 near the end, and then it was arguably the play of the game, right? Sengun drives in, draws 2, has the behind the back kick out to Jabari. Nice. Madison, I was losing my mind watching that play. That was an insane play. Shows up when you need him most. But we want to highlight the bench here, because the bench, it really felt like, was kind of the difference maker in this game for the Rockets. Jeff Green, a big part of that. The Rockets bench outscored the Bucks bench 43-22. And Madison, they did this in a game in which the Rockets are missing one of their starters in Dillon Brooks, which means you're inserting one of your key reserves in Jae'Sean Tate, who did not really have a good game in this one whatsoever. Fouled a lot, was almost more or less a non-factor offensively. He had the clutch tip in at the end. I'll give him that.
That's good.
It was a good, very trademark Jae'Sean Tate hustle play, but other than that, not a huge impact in this game. But so you're missing Dillon Brooks, and you're missing Tari Eason, who's your best reserve. And yet their bench unit outscored Milwaukee's bench 43-22. And a big part of that comes from, one, Aaron Holiday actually remembering how to shoot the basketball was a big development in this game. But then also just Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore continue to grow and look better and better with each passing game. They are the real deal. They're still rookies. They still make rookie mistakes, but they have looked so good. And Ime is continuing to give them more burn. He's trusting them more with each passing game, which is a fantastic development, I think.
Yeah, no, I have to give the flowers to Amen and Cam. Talk about guys developing on the fly. I kind of touched on it in the first segment about sometimes they have these rookie mistakes. And I really felt like I didn't see much rookie mistakes at all in this big Bucks game. Cam Whitmore continues to be an efficient scorer, getting the most out of his minutes and giving us an offensive punch. And his 3-point shooting has been so good this year. I mean, now he's doing it in real game time minutes. I think his strength going to the basket, he had a tough and one. He had some nice finishes. And defensively, I may have missed one or so, but I didn't see any time where Cam just got completely lost on the floor. Right. And that was something we saw at least 2 or 3 times a game when Cam was playing. I think he's getting better defensively. He has the physical tools to be better. And this is the big reason why I'm not calling for the Rockets to bring another bench level wing in. I want the Rockets. We have these injuries. We just need to get healthy. We're fine when we're healthy. But while those guys are injured, let's develop our young guys who have a whole lot of upside and can give this team a lot of promise. And right now, it may be a little tough, but by the end of the season, this team will be better for giving them those minutes. We may have to take a couple losses here, but I think it will reward us at the end of the season, whether we have to play in the play-in or not. These guys will be ready to perform. And so I'm really happy with their performance tonight. I thought they were really solid all around defensively and offensively.
You know, the Rockets bench unit of Aaron Holiday, with Jabari Smith Jr. out there. So Aaron Holiday, Jabari Smith Jr., Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, and Jeff Green logged a total of 9.5 minutes in this game. They were a +7 in those 9.5 minutes. They were really effective together. And against watching that one play where Amen gets the steal down low. You know, he's the low man. He's in the right place, right time on the Damian Lillard drive. Rotates over, gets the steal, and then immediately takes off in transition. And you've got Cam like on the rails on the outside, you know, running his lane, and Amen feeds him the ball. And Cam took off like he wanted to dunk it. Yeah. He wanted that highlight dunk in transition, and instead he had to settle for absorbing the contact and finishing at the rim. But that's just, those two guys are going to be a terror in transition with one another, playing off of one another. And you look at their stat lines. I mean, Cam just comes in, he fills it up. He had 12 points in 13 minutes, almost a point per minute that he's out there on the floor. He's currently he's shooting 60. He's got 63% true shooting right now as a rookie. Like he hits so much, and he looks so under control in how he's going to attack. And like the one play that really stood out was the back down post up spin on Damian Lillard, right? He had the mismatch, and that's where you see like, oh, Cam has like a lot in his bag, right? It's not simply just, okay, I'm only going to attack this way, or I can face you up, or I've got to like, you know, get to a cross. He has so much in his bag to where he was like, oh, cool, I've got a smaller defender on me. I'm putting my back against him. I'm backing him down. And as soon as he got a couple good, you know, hits in on Dame, he spun around him and finished at the rim for 2. So simple, so smooth, so effective. Cam Whitmore is the real deal, and watching him actually get those minutes and get and have the trust from Ime to be out there, continued trust, right? Seeing him out there playing during the fourth quarter in certain stretches, that kind of stuff. I fully agree with you. I think the investment in Cam is going to be great for the long-term success of this Rockets team.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I think there's a real star in the making in Cam, and we have to continue to nurture that. I mean, this team, we are winning on the backs of our young guys. Our young guys are major contributors. Even Sengun today. One of the things about, you know, he didn't shoot the ball that well from the field today, but he was great at the line, and he was great facilitating.
You don't even have to be PC about it. He was awful. I don't know what was going on with Sengun. Like,
he missed all his easy shots.
like 6 minutes into the game, 8 minutes of the game, I was like, who broke LP? Like he was missing everybody at the rim. He was just out of rhythm.
He was just out of rhythm. And I could tell after that first miss, and then the second one, he threw his hands up. The and one he missed, it was easy. And when he threw his hands up, I was like, yeah, this might be one of those nights where he's just a little off. He's a little off, but still 21 points, I believe it was 8 rebounds.
11 rebounds final.
11 rebounds. Okay. So yeah, just still effective, you know, just still. That's the sign of an all-star. Even when your shot is not going for you, you still have one of the best stat lines and still one of the, you know, best players tonight. So you know, I really want to give him his flowers that too. Going through the struggles.
I liked that even though he was struggling, the Rockets didn't necessarily like move away from him, right? And it's one of those things where, you know, you would have liked to see him kind of break out of that slump. He had that really nice like scoop shot around Brook Lopez at one point in the second half where it's like, okay, shot. maybe he's starting to break out of the shell a little bit. I do think that LP has a tendency at times, especially when the shot stops falling, to start looking for fouls before trying to actually finish plays at times, which is a bit frustrating. Ime Udoka has highlighted that in the past with LP as an area of focus for him, where it's just like, hey man, stop trying to draw fouls, just, you know, play your game, hit your shots. But Brook Lopez is a tough defensive guy to go, or a tough cover. So tough cover. That's the opposite end of the floor. I'm saying this wrong. Wrong terminology. It's really tough when you're being guarded by Brook Lopez, and you know, you've got to find a way to try to get around him or get him into foul trouble. And the one thing that really did bother me in this game was I felt like in the second half when the Bucks switched things up and they put Andre Jackson Jr. out there instead of I believe it was instead of Middleton, or was it instead of Beasley to start the second? He started.
Beasley.
Okay, instead of Beasley, he started the second half, and they put Andre Jackson Jr. on Sengun, and even Ryan Hollins was begging for it on the broadcast. He was like, "You got to get the ball to Sengun. You have Andre Jackson Jr. on him. Post him up." And the reason they did that with Sengun is because they wanted to, the same reason that the Rockets sometimes don't put Sengun on the opposing team's 5-man, like against the Nets with Nick Claxton. They didn't want the Bucks didn't want Brook Lopez involved in the pick and roll actions. Yeah. So instead, Sengun's going to be your primary screener. Cool. Now you've got Andre Jackson Jr. Boom, he switches. So you needed to move away from the pick and roll actions there in the third quarter. And I think the Rockets kind of did that, but they didn't then capitalize on having Jackson Jr. guarding Sengun, which is a bit of a frustrating offensive development. They lasted, they worked through the quarter, they survived. The Bucks technically won the quarter 30 to, what was it, 26, 28? But, and first off, that third quarter took like an hour and a half, man. It was ridiculous. There were so many whistles in that quarter, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there was a lot of whistles and just stoppages for weird plays like the Jabari Smith scuffle. Oh. And it was stuff like that. It was just dragging those quarters out. But yeah, overall, I agree with you. And I would like to say, I don't even put Sengun's struggles at the rim on Brook Lopez, because those are shots that he makes every single day. Yeah. I mean, he was making good over the shoulder easy hooks. Those are just money for Alperen Sengun, and they just were not going. And it's just like, sometimes you don't have it. You know what I mean? Yeah. These are humans, sometimes you don't have it. But overall, I mean, for the Rockets still to win in such a convincing way, I think goes to show how much this team has improved and how ready they were to play tonight.
And look, Alp, he still rebounded. He was still defending. And at the end of the day, he still had some the timely assist to Jabari late, was still able to draw two, kick the ball out, made the, making the right reads. I want to say, I don't know if it was
10
late
free
in the
throws.
fourth quarter. 10 free throws. Yeah, no, he was still getting to the foul line. So it was, not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. It was just one of those where, okay, he struggled, to put the ball in the basket. We know he's better. He'll bounce back. A guy that I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about. I have one more point that I want to share about Amen Thompson. And I also want to talk about Jaylen Green, who, despite the positive trend of him, hitting the three ball and connecting on the most threes since December 27th or whatever the stat was, that is a positive trend. Unfortunately, the three ball wasn't falling for him in this game, but there was another angle that I want to highlight. So a positive development for Jaylen Green in this one. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place just a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose, and all you have to do is wager $5. It's that easy. The app is so simple to use. There are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays, finding bets in the new Explore tab, make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and so much more. Right now, you can take a look at the outright betting favorites for the Super Bowl this year. The San Francisco 49ers at plus 230 to win it all. Right behind them, the Baltimore Ravens at plus 330. Then a little ways off in third place, the Buffalo Bills at plus 800, the Cowboys plus 850, and the Kansas City Chiefs at plus 900. So to get in on the action, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to start checking out all the different football action that you can get into this season. Hey, if you want to take a bit more of a gamble, you can do Texans at plus 3,400 to win it all this year. Again, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Thoughts on the Rockets 112-108 win against the Milwaukee Bucks. And last point, one more quick point about Amen Thompson that we didn't get to squeeze in there in the second segment, talking about the bench unit, Madison. But Amen continues to get more and more comfortable with the drive and kick game, right? This is where he's going to be, I don't know if, he's not quite like a natural, maybe floor general at this point, the way that like Fred is, or like a Chris Paul type. And there are very few players that, are even like that in today's NBA, right? A lot of players are just, you're going to collapse the defense, you're going to attack, you're trying to generate an offensive advantage. And Amen Thompson is great at doing that. He's got great court vision, great feel for the game. And in this game against the Bucks, I felt like he did a really great job of driving, collapsing the defense, and finding the open man on kickouts. He walked away with 5 assists in this one. It really feels like he's starting to understand, hey, if I just get the ball and go in transition before the defense gets set, I'm going to draw a second defender, and then all I have to do is kick it out to the open guy. And it doesn't even matter if that guy shoots the shot. As long as I kick it to the open man, then defense is in rotation and we're going to generate a good look.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that. I mean, Amon is getting more comfortable with the ball in his hands. I think the handle has been a bit more behind than we had hoped, right? And so it hasn't allowed him to get many primary reps. But I can see him improving, and he did initiate a lot of the offense and was moving the ball very, very effectively this game. One more thing we just need him to learn how to do is to keep his dribble alive on a lot of these plays. Can go from good pass rotations to excellent finding a guy wide open. If he could just keep his dribble open. A lot of times he picks the ball up and kind of finds himself in no man's land, but it's such a talented passer. He's able to still get the kick out, right? But those are how you get turnovers, and those are one of the things that I saw in his tape at OTE. But as he continues to get more comfortable on the floor, those will be things the coaching staff will point out to him. He'll be able to keep his dribble alive on those plays and be able to survey even more to leverage his passing ability. So I can't wait till Amon unlocks that part of his game.
It's worth noting in this game, Fred VanVleet had 7 assists. He created 16 points off of those 7 assists. Alperen Sengun had 4 assists and created 11 points off those 4 assists. And then Amen Thompson also tying Alp. He created 11 points off of his 5 assists in this game. Now, the guy that I want to talk about here in the third segment, Jaylen Green, who has been kind of in the third segment the last couple episodes we've had to do for bad reasons, but some good reasons here. Now, he wasn't quite... Look, Jaylen Green was not the headliner by any stretch of the imagination in this game. He was not. That honor goes to the defense, to the bench guys. That's why we have a bit of an order of operations here on the show, right? We go with the most important stuff, then, work our way down. But in this game, Madison, Jaylen Green, 16 points, 5 of 12 shooting, only 1 of 6 from long distance, even though he's been shooting the ball incredibly well from long distance over this last stretch of, 5 to 10 games or so. He had 4 rebounds, 2 assists, had a steal, only 1 turnover. The 1 of 6 from 3, call it an off night shooting, whatever. He's been really consistent from 3 over about the last 10 games. So we'll call it a fluke in the outside shooting. However, I know you've been highlighting the fact that you think maybe, there have been some tweaks to his form possibly here, and I haven't had a chance to ask Ime about it yet. It's on my to-do list, but if Jaylen Green can get to a place where his 3-point shot is consistent the way that it has been over these last 10 games, this is a very different Jaylen Green we're talking about than the Jaylen Green that was frustrating most Rockets fans everywhere and was kind of, at times holding this team back a little bit. If he's just knocking down open threes, that's awesome. But in this game, it was the way that he was attacking the Bucks defense on the interior, right? His drives that I thought was really encouraging, because it wasn't just, the Bucks had a defensive breakdown and Jaylen Green had, these wide open layups. He was actually playing with tempo, right? He wasn't just one speed the whole time trying to drive directly into Brook Lopez and then getting his shot swatted to like the 5th row.
Yes. So I think the whole reason the Bucks changed how they guarded Alperen Sengun is because of how we were dicing them up in the pick and roll. And a lot of that had to do with Jalen Green. As of late, Jalen Green has been getting a lot more pick and roll reps with Alp. Most of those reps have been going to Fred VanVleet, but now they have switched back to Jalen Green, especially in the first halves of games. Now, we already know how effective they were last year as a 2-man game. And I think it's really helping him being able to play with Alperen Sengun in the 2-man game again. I mean, he knows where his spots are in that particular game. He's no longer doing the hostage dribble or trying to snake across the paint. Unnecessary with your talents, Jalen. Now he's moved back into what me and Nathan Fogg talked about online. It is, oh my God, the hang dribble. The hang dribble is such an effective move for Jalen Green because of how fast he is. So you've seen it once again in the first quarter against Brooke Lopez, where he kind of lulled him to sleep. As soon as Brooke showed and went back, he was able to explode because of the hang dribble. You don't know where you're going, right? And score at the rim. A lot of plays like that where Jalen's coming off the pick and roll and he's in his hang dribble and you're able to pass, shoot, or drive out of that. And it gives him the ability to read the defense. He also made some really good passes to Alperen Sengun throughout the whole course of the game. There was a play where it was crunch time in the fourth quarter, and Jalen hadn't gotten a lot of reps in the crunch time as of late. I mean, previously, but they still mixed him in so he can get his reps, and they trapped him high above the 3-point line, and he just lobbed it real quick and easy over the top to Alperen Sengun, where he now there's an advantage for the Rockets, whereas there's a 4-on-3 in that particular situation, and he's able to make plays. But those type of simple decision making things is the type of development that we want to see out of Jalen. And so even though his shot wasn't going from beyond the arc, he was still a very effective player because he wasn't turning the ball over. He was making good decisions, and he was leveraging his threat as an offensive creator along with Alperen Sengun to help this offense continue to be effective. And as you know, guys were shooting it really very well from three other than Jalen. So over the course of this, I say all this to say over the course of this, Jalen seems to be getting his confidence back. It does seem like there's a minor adjustment to his shot. There's less of a bring around hitch around his face in the beginning of his shots, and he seems to be holding his arc after shots a lot more, and that seems to have given more arc on his jumper, and I think that is led to more consistent shooting. Even tonight, the way Jalen missed shots tonight were all back rim. They were all back rim. All his shots were back rim that he missed, and that to me is about consistency, though. The consistency in your jumper. Usually Jalen has some pretty, when he misses, sometimes they're to the left or to the right. These were on target. They look like good shots. You know what I mean? They just didn't fall.
I think he had one that was front iron, but it's kind of the same concept there, right? As it was on target, it just wasn't. Yes. It wasn't wide left or wide right. It was just a little bit shorter. And if memory serves, I think he shot that one like late off dribble, kind of like late shot clock, like just get a 3 up, and then because the shot clock was running down or whatever. But we've talked about this before. Is does the process look good for Jalen? And I thought in this game the process looked great for Jalen. This, and Jalen can have games like this all the time, and I will, even if it results in a loss, kind of so be it, because this team wants to play competitive basketball. They want to be in the playoffs or be in the play-in hunt at the end of the season. I get that, but I do think that development has to come first, as long as the guys that you're trying to develop are showing proper signs of they're getting it right. They're doing the right things. They're following what Ime is trying to teach them. They're locked in. They're doing all the correct stuff. And I really felt like in this game, Jalen did everything that he could possibly do, other than knock down, 1 or 2 more 3-pointers. Yeah. I feel like Jalen did everything that he could possibly do in this game within his power to play the best game he possibly could, right? He was engaged and locked in on defense. He, like you said, he was using his gravity as a scorer, all these different things. That's all we want from Jalen. That's all I want from Jalen at the end of the day. And if he can be this player on a consistent basis, then this Rockets team is going to be great because of it. Because, again, they need Jalen. There have been times when we've seen this team without Jalen out there, and it clogs things up a little bit. Defenses still treat him like a scoring threat. Even though he's been pretty inconsistent this season, defenses still treat him as like a number 1 or number 2 option that they have to put one of their best perimeter defenders on, that they have to try and slow down. And by doing that, it opens things up for his teammates, right? You talked about his passing to Alperen Sengun out of the pick and roll. That's been a great development for Jalen. It's something that we know going back to last season is there that they can build upon. So it has been great seeing Ime Udoka kind of go back to that a little bit more, in recent, the recent stretch of games or so. After, I talked to him about it earlier this season. I was like, hey, like what's up with the Jalen Alp stuff, right? We haven't seen it at all. And he's like, yeah, we're trying to roll more of that, back into the offense. But by and large, Madison, I think this is arguably one of the best wins for the on the season for the Rockets. Again, undermanned. You don't have Dillon, you don't have Tari. Second night of a back-to-back. You just got blown out at home by the Timberwolves, and I do think that this kind of helps save a little bit of what could have been an ugly homestand here with some, the early losses, all three coming in a row. And then, you're able to kind of clean it up and salvage it here a little bit with the wins against the Pistons, the Nets. And then, by cleaning it up with the Bucks, you go 3-4 on this 7-game homestand. That's not as good as we would have liked to see them, especially now that they got to go, I think 13 of 20 on their next set of games on the road, unfortunately. So a lot of road games coming up for this Rockets team, but I think you got to be happy with where this team is at right now after this win.
Yeah, man. I wish could have got that Sixers win, but nonetheless, this was not a failure. There's still a young team undermanned on a homestand, building a rhythm and getting better. And I think they honestly got better over the course of this homestand.
On that note, you guys let us know your thoughts from this Rockets-Bucks game, 112-108 final score. Who was your Locked On Rockets player of the game? I feel like it could have gone, we anointed Jeff Green. I feel like Jabari had a strong claim to it. Maybe you want to still give it to Alperen Sengun. Let us know in the YouTube comments. Give us your thoughts from this game. Madison, you know the drill. Let everyone know where to track you down at.
Yeah, man. Hit me up on X or Twitter at MadmanLeaks. I love to talk Rockets ball.
That's going to do it for another edition of Locked On Rockets. As always, thank you so much for checking out the show. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, the Odyssey app, free and available on all podcast platforms. We're also available on YouTube. Go to YouTube, search Locked On Rockets, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.